Hi, welcome to Algebra 1, Lesson 36. We're talking about multiplying fractions as well as minus signs and negative exponents. Okay, let's start out with multiplying fractions. You already know that to multiply a fraction, you need to multiply the numerator by the other numerator and then the denominator by the denominator. Very simple, right? Well, the same applies when you have variables and exponents in your fraction. So I'm going to show you how you do this. Again, it's really simple. I think it's kind of fun because you're just playing around with the letters and putting them where they need to go. So let's start with this first example. I have x squared over y squared times x squared over y minus 3y cubed over m. So first you need to remember the rule for when you multiply with exponents. Remember when you multiply and you have exponents, how do you multiply your exponents? You add them. That's right. You don't actually multiply them, you add them. So that's the first thing that you need to remember. When you divide exponents, what are you doing? You subtract them. That's right. So if you divide, you subtract. If you multiply, you add. Okay? So just keep that in mind and you'll follow along with me and you'll get the hang of it. So I'm going to start with, I'm multiplying, I need to simplify this, so I have to use the distributive property. I have to multiply x squared over y squared by this first term and then by the second term. Watch out for your sign, make sure you include it with the term that comes right behind it. So I'm going to start by multiplying x squared times x squared. So I just need to add my exponents, right? 2 plus 2 is 4. So that gives me x to the 4th power in my denominator. Then I have y squared times y, so that's 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have y cubed. Okay, that's my first term. Now I need to multiply x squared over y squared times negative 3y cubed over m. Well, I know that my answer is going to be negative, so I can go ahead and put that minus sign down, because this is positive and this is negative, and a positive times a negative gives me a negative answer. Now I'll multiply my numerators. X squared times 3y cubed. Well, there's nothing that I can combine, no like terms, so I just write it out. 3, I'm going to write my variables in numerical order, or excuse me, in alphabetical order, so I'm going to do x squared first, and then y cubed. Okay? Now let me do my denominators, y squared times m. There's nothing to combine, so I just go ahead and write it out. My squared. All right, now I'm not quite done. I can simplify. Always be looking for ways to simplify your answer. So I can simplify my answer like this. Over here I have x to the 4th power over y cubed. There's nothing alike in my numerator and my denominator, so I'm done. I have nothing more that I can do with that. So it's going to stay, sorry, I have to kind of squish things in here, x cubed, or excuse me, x to the 4th over y cubed. That's going to stay as is. But how about over here? I have no whole numbers that are alike, no more x's, no more y's, or no more m's, but I do have y's that are alike. So I'm dividing, let me just write this over here separate so you can see it a little better. I have y3 divided by y2. Well, remember, that's the same, since I'm dividing my exponents, that's the same as saying y3 minus 2, which is what? That would be y to the 1st power, which is the same as y. So this cancels out. So I cancel out these two y's, and I'm left with just y. So my new term becomes, I'm going to erase this so you can see it a little better and it will be less cluttered, 3x squared y over m. I canceled out the other y completely. This y, this exponent is now just 1, okay? So this y got canceled out completely because I took these two y's, divided them in here. So it's like this. I just want to make sure that you guys understand. This is y cubed. This is y squared. Divide these two, that becomes 1, it cancels out. I'm just left with 1y, okay? So does that make sense? All right, let's keep practicing. Let me erase this. Okay. mc times axp over mk minus 2m4 times p4. Remember that any whole number can be made into an improper fraction by putting it over 1, okay? So that changes it into a fraction. All right, so now I'm going to multiply. I'm going to start with my first term. m times axp, that's going to give me m axp. Just multiply everything together. Times, or over, z m k. So just multiply z times mk, that gives me z times m times k. Now I have a negative 2m4 p4. This particular term is positive, so positive times a negative, I know my answer will be negative, so I'm going to go ahead and put that negative sign. In my numerator, I have m. So I have negative 2, m times m4 gives me m5. I add my exponents. P times m5, p4, just like that. Okay, nothing to multiply the p by, so it doesn't change. Over z times 1 is z. Okay, now let's see if there's anything I can simplify. In this fraction, I have my m and my m that will cancel out. M divided by m is 1, so it's canceled out totally. Do I have any other like terms? Nope, that's it. So it will be a x p over z k. That's that term. Minus. Now I have 2m5 p4 over z. Are there any like variables? No, nothing I can simplify. So it's just 2m5 p4 over z. Okay? How are we doing? Hanging in there? Let's try one more. I have ab over c squared times xab over c plus 2bx minus 4 over c squared. All right, let's start with the first term, ab times xab. Well, leaves me with x. There's nothing that it's being multiplied by. A times a is going to give me a squared. B times b gives me b squared. Over c squared times c, well, that's 3 c's, so it's c cubed. Moving on to the next term, I have a positive and a positive, so that'll be a positive term. My numerator is 2bx, so I multiply the 2bx times ab. I usually put my whole number first, so 2, a times bx, so it's just a, b times b is b squared, x times ab, just x. Then c squared times 1 gives me c squared. All right, on to the next term. Negative 4 over c squared. Negative times a positive is going to give me a negative answer. Okay? 4 times ab just gives me 4ab over c squared times c squared. 2 plus 2 is 4, so c to the 4th power. Now let me see if I can simplify anything. All right. Do I have any like variables in my numerator and denominator? Anything that can cancel? Nope, that one's good to go. How about here? Anything that can cancel? Nope, still good to go. How about here? Anything that can cancel? Nope, we are good to go. Okay, so that is my final answer for this problem. That's as far as I can go. Okay, we're going to move on to something a little bit simpler in the next part of the lesson. But let me know if you're thrown by any of this, if you have any confusion, and you need me to do some more examples with you to help you out with it, okay? All right, let's go to the next part of the lesson.